Hello everyone, my name is Nathan, and welcome back to Maple Street. I hope you enjoy your stay here. My video content normally takes place in the 20th century, but today we are visiting the 21st century and talking about the Hunger Games series. If you weren't aware, this is a movie series that I absolutely adore. The first movie came out my freshman year in high school, and with the recent release of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I thought, what the heck? I want to talk about this movie series. I want to have a video on my channel that discusses my thoughts on each movie within the 5-film series. This is going to sound so silly, but another reason I justified making this video beyond just me wanting to have this in my content library was because Katniss Everdeen is in every video I make. She's in the outro. If you haven't noticed, she's one of the characters that I spotlight. She's one of my favorite female heroes and one of my favorite characters in general when it comes to like heroic action characters. But we'll talk more about Katniss as we actually get into the ranking. Any movie I talk about today is at least good in my eyes. It's kind of like Star Wars, where even the worst Star Wars movie has at least that one redeeming quality that I'm in a Star Wars film, so I at least will always like it a little bit because of that. That's how I feel with the Hunger Games. So I like to be strategic for when I release ranking videos, and so whenever you watch my top 10 actor or actress videos, you'll notice that they always are released on the star's birthday. So today is actually the 10-year anniversary of Catching Fire's release, which is insane to me to think about. I was a junior in high school when that movie came out. I still remember seeing it on the premiere night, and I cannot believe that it's already been 10 years. Hunger Games also has the distinction of being one of those series that I read each book before I saw each movie. As of today, I've read the whole series, all 4 books, twice. Read them in high school, read the new one a few years ago, and then I reread all of them. I re-listened to them, I should say, in preparation for the new movie. So I'm very familiar with this world. I love this world. I'm a big fan of it. And so for all those reasons and more, I wanted to discuss the ranking of this filmography with you today. My number 5 and number 4 are going to go hand in hand because it's Mockingjay parts 1 and 2. If you ask me, they should have been one movie all along. There's even an article recently that came out where the director was like, yeah, no, I messed up on that. It should have been one movie, not 2 parts. Big regret of his. At the end of the day, I guess I appreciate that we have more scenes within this world, but it just makes for both movies to have a lot of downtime. Part 1's last place because it's just very slow to me. You still get a really great performance out of Jennifer Lawrence. I don't think you ever have a bad performance from her in this series. Plus, just like the other movies directed by Francis Lawrence, it's very faithful to the book, and so I have that to thank for it, but I'm just very bored when I watch this. There are key scenes that I love. I love the hanging tree scene. I'm not even joking right now. Like, I'm not doing this for comedic effect. I cannot think of another scene in this movie I love. What else happens in this movie? I love the hanging tree sequence, and I think they could have kept that and a few other important details and then combined that with part 2, and we would have had one movie. And then when it comes to part 2, the first half is very slow. It's a great adaptation from the book, but just scenes that you normally wouldn't see. I'm thinking of maybe like Finnick's wedding, for an example. Part of me likes that because, like I said, more time in the world, but the other part of me is like, okay, I'm bored, move on. And it hurts on rewatches. However, part 2 beats part 1 because I think the second half is very exciting. When they actually get into the Capitol, they have to deal with going through the different pods, the different booby traps. Some key scenes in part 2 that I love. Anytime I watch that dang sewer scene where they're attacked by the mutts, my heart races. I don't care how many times I've seen it. I think that sequence is so well executed, from building up the suspense to finally seeing the mutts. The mutts are horrifying looking. The way they move their body, how they're all long and they're sharp teeth. It's so creepy, and I love it so much. I think it's great filmmaking right there. All the pods are fun, but I'm gonna jump to the ending where it's actually Gale and Katniss trying to enter Snow's mansion. I love that sequence of them running through the streets and there's explosions going on around them. They're trying to avoid anything. It's just very exciting. So I still like the movies. They're just the worst ones of the bunch. Next up, I have the original Hunger Games movie. I really like this movie. This is the one that started it all. Funny enough though, the first time I saw it, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I didn't think it was the best adaptation. There were a lot of things they changed, but it was still like faithful enough where they got like the main points across and everything. But then I rewatched it and I liked it a lot more because I knew what to expect. I knew what would be missing, and so I was able to view it as just a movie. And I feel like from then on, I've always viewed it as a movie rather than an adaptation, and therefore I've enjoyed it more. But one thing that has kind of always bothered me, especially in recent years with the first Hunger Games, is just the style of filmmaking. I know it's a cliche complaint, but there's a reason it's cliche. Lots of shaky cam and lots of cuts back and forth. I I've always thought it was weird when Katniss volunteers for Prim. I volunteer! And then it's like a jump cut and it shows her like pushing, and then it's another cut and it's like, I volunteer as tribute. And it's like, it's just a weird sequence. Like, why did they feel the need to cut that even though we never go away from Katniss? And then a lot of the movies like that, where there's a lot of strange jump cuts and then also a lot of shaky cam. And because of that, it doesn't age as well. I think when Francis Lawrence takes over, the series becomes a lot higher quality when it comes to at least the cinematography and the adaptations. In a perfect world, I would want Francis Lawrence to also direct the first movie. I think we could have gotten a better adaptation, but with what we have, I still enjoy it. And also, it's nostalgic for me. Like, I grew up with it. When I first bought the Blu-ray, I watched it so many times. I used to bookmark different scenes with my Blu-ray remote. I don't know if anyone else ever did that, but I would bookmark scenes so that later I could come back to the Blu-ray and choose my bookmarks and just watch certain sequences. The first one is always going to be very special to me, but I think the series just improves from there a lot. I'm not contradicting myself because I still do like the first one more than parts 1 and 2 of Mockingjay, but I would say that Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2 are better filmed movies. I just like the story of Hunger Games. I like that first story a lot, and so my bias kicks in, and therefore I like the movie more because of that. Mockingjay Part 2 and the Hunger Games are neck and neck for me. I have it at an 8.5 out of 10. So lots of things I really like about it, and then just some things I would change about it. Going into the movie Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I honestly did not expect it to beat any of the Jennifer Lawrence movies. I thought it would be 5th place just automatically, but I guess it's a great problem to have because my next pick is the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which that within itself, amazing title. I love the title. Back when the book came out a few years ago, it took me a minute to hop on the train. When I finally read it, I was like, wow, I'm back in the Hunger Games world. This is really good, at least for the first 2 parts. Then at the third part, it kind of dipped in quality, and I was like, okay, interesting decision. Like, if I was talking to people about whether or not they should read it, I would warn them. I would say like, yeah, no, first 2 parts, like 9, 10 out of 10 book. Last part, maybe like more of a 7 or an 8 out of 10 book. With all that being said, the movie, the whole entire thing works for me. I know a lot of people have been complaining that the third part feels a little too rushed. I can see that complaint, but I'm at this point where I'm so conditioned to this story that it does not bother me. A lot of people have complained because they think that Snow transitions into madness a little too quickly, and I'll admit, I think the book does a better job at preparing you for that, but because I knew exactly what to expect, that wasn't a problem for me when I was watching it. Plus, we have a new star in Tom Blyth. I've never seen him in anything. He's not really in too much. I know he's in the Billy the Kid TV show. I haven't seen that. And so I had no idea what to expect from his performance. The trailers gave us only so much to depend on kind of thing. And so actually watched the movie, so impressed. And it's one of the rare movies that I actually watched 2 days in a row. You can't say that about a lot of movies, but I saw it Thursday night, and then I watched it again Friday night, and I love this movie. I think it is an incredible adaptation. Like, when I came out of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I felt the same way I did 10 years ago today when I walked out of Catching Fire. It's that good of an adaptation where they're very faithful to the book. They include all the crucial parts. Sure, of course, they always are going to leave some stuff out, but anything they leave out, I was totally cool with. I don't think they left anything out that was like crucial for the plot to develop. They're so limited in what they can keep in the runtime. They only have so long to present everything from a long book, and so what they chose to include I thought was great. They also changed the games a bit. The games end differently in the book, and they also have different events throughout the book. I thought it worked out well, and I thought that for the screen it made sense to go the direction that they went in. Little spoiler for the book, if you want to read it, then just skip this part, I guess. But in the movie, the games end with Lucy Gray, the snakes coming on her and everything, and her singing. That all happens in the book too, but it's just not the end of the games. The games end with her having Reaper, I believe, drink the water with rat poison in it, and that's how it ends. And it's not as exciting as her, you know, taking a stand with snakes all over her body, looking right into the camera, singing her heart out. I think that's a perfect finale for a Hunger Games arena. So it makes sense that they made that change from the book to the movie. Rachel Zegler does a good job. I think she really stands out in her singing. In that case, I thought she was a really good casting choice. And then at the end of the day, the movie just also has that same quality as the original 4 films, where I'm just happy to be back in the world of Panem. Happy probably isn't the best word, but I'm excited. I don't know, you get what I mean. It's so rewatchable. It is a long movie, but it doesn't ever feel long, at least in the 2 times I've seen it. And call it a hot take, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's my number 2 Hunger Games movie. And coming in at number 1 is Catching Fire. I remember the first night seeing it, being so excited. I was excited all year long, and it did not disappoint. In fact, it even exceeded expectations. I'd gone from watching The Hunger Games and thinking it was a pretty good adaptation from book to movie, to seeing Catching Fire and being like, oh my gosh, that's the best adaptation I've ever seen. Like I said, there's always going to be some differences from book to movie. They do leave things out from the book to the movie, but anything they leave out, it doesn't change the story. The movie is still able to execute its storyline, even having left some parts out from the book. The reason Catching Fire is my number one of the greatest sequels of all time for one, everyone who was in the first movie coming to the second movie improved. Not that they did bad in the first movie, they just did better in Catching Fire. The arena is also more intricate and more exciting. The twist to the story is so exciting to see on the big screen. I knew what was going to happen, but to see that unfold on the big screen was such a delight. One of my favorite parts of this movie is when Katniss is raised into the arena and you switch into the IMAX mode, at least if you watch your Blu-ray. They didn't do it on the 4K, I don't know why they didn't. But what I'm talking about is the bars raised on the screen, and so you're in full IMAX mode for the arena sequence. It's incredible. And this might be her best performance in the whole series, which is saying a lot because I think she does amazing in every single movie of the series, but I think this is her standout. I'm a big fan of Survivor, and this movie feels like a returning player season on Survivor. They have these seasons where they bring back characters that you already know, and it's so exciting to see them because they're now interacting with different people and you don't know how the season's going to go. In that sense, I feel like Catching Fire is very similar. They're coming back into the arena, and just seeing them interact with each other and form those alliances is so exciting. And it's interesting too because you actually don't know anyone that's going back into Hunger Games. They're all previous victors from the previous 74 years of it going on, but the movie does a good job at introducing them and telling you who they are and understanding who you're supposed to root for and who you should kind of have like an eye on. If I had my way, I would love to have a TV series about the Hunger Games where each season you see a different year of the Hunger Games, of the arena. Every season is a new era, a new literal season, kind of like Survivor, but it's not reality, obviously, hopefully. You get to know each tribute going into the Hunger Games. You get to know what district they're coming from. You get attached to them, so it's even worse when they die. And then you see the unique arenas that the Capitol has hosted throughout the years. I would love to have a TV show like this. It'd be incredible. And it would be even cooler to do a random character, not like Finnick or Haymitch, because then you would go into the season having no idea who's going to win. So you don't know who you are rooting for, and you'd be that much more sad when they die. It'd be a great time in the least twisted way possible. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I know, like I said, it's a little bit of a mix-up from what I usually do, but I want the Maple Street Library to have a ranking of the Hunger Games movies. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your ranking in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.